At long last, interest rates have been cut. So today, the Bank of England monetary policy met and they decided to lower interest rates from the 5.25% down to 5%. Now, many people expected the Bank of England to bring down interest rates. We don't know how much it was going to be by, and most people believe that rates are going to come down probably 3 times this year. So this is really good news for property investors. The target rate of 2% inflation has been met. The Bank of England decided to bring down interest rates and hope it's going to stimulate the UK property market. Now, why is this important? Well, we're in this buyer's market right now. There are more sellers than there are buyers. And one of the things that stopped people taking out mortgages for new homes or buy-to-let mortgages is the relatively high interest rates. The question is, will people jump at these new reduced rates, or do you think they will wait until rates come down further and maybe buy later this year or even buy property in 2025 when rates are expected to come down further? In this video, I'm going to talk about the impacts on you and your property investing. So welcome to this video. My name's Simon Zucchi and I've been investing in property since 1995 when I bought my first home and became a live-in landlord. And a few years later, I bought a second property that me and my friends moved into, and the first property I retained and rented it out as a student HMO, and that was in 1998. So I've been a landlord renting property for a very long time. And since 2003, I've been teaching people like you how to become successful investors. So during that time, I've seen lots of changes to interest rates. Back before the credit crunch in 2007, we had a similar Bank of England base rate interest rates of about 5.5%, 6%. So throughout my property investing training career, I've been teaching my students to work out their mortgages based on a 6% mortgage. Now, when the credit crunch came and interest rates went down to about 0.5%, the Bank of England base rate for a decade, what that meant was many property investors who took out mortgages before the credit crunch had a rate where they were paying the Bank of England base rate plus about 2 or 2.5%. What that meant, their effective pay rate on their mortgage was 2.5 to maybe 3%. So in other words, they were making lots and lots of money on their buy-to-let mortgages, particularly my students who had calculated their interest at 6% and they were making lots of extra money. Now, what happened in 2015, the Chancellor announced the introduction of Section 24 to come into place in April 2017. And that was a change to the way that we as property investors are taxed. What they said was, if you own property in your own name, which the vast majority of investors did, and if you have a mortgage, which again, most investors do, and if you're a high rate taxpayer, which not all but many property investors are, it meant you were going to pay more tax on your property income because you could no longer offset all of the interest that you pay on your mortgages against the rental income to reduce the tax. So this came in April 2017. But to be honest, not a lot of investors really felt the pain because it was phased in over 4 years. And as I said earlier, interest rates were very, very low. So people were still making money from their properties. Now, the problem is, because of all of the money that was spent during COVID, that caused inflation, and the Bank of England typically uses interest rates as a macroeconomic tool to control inflation. So we all expected at some point interest rates were going to go up. Now this started in 2022 and interest rates went up so that for most of 2024 up to now, interest rates have been 5.25%. Now, if someone's got a mortgage that's a base rate mortgage plus 2 or 3%, it means many property investors for the last X number of months have had a mortgage where the interest they're paying each month might be 8, 9, even 10%, and that means their interest payments have been more than their rent. This is one of the reasons we've seen many, many landlords over the last few years sell up their properties and get out of the property investing game because actually the rent was not as much as the mortgages. We've also seen obviously inflation and lots of people have raised their rent, so it's not been so good for renters because they've been paying more and more, but still we've seen lots of landlords selling up and getting out of the game. So lots of people have been really focused on what's happening to interest rates. Now my view is, there are still great property deals you can do. Even if interest rates are high, we could do strategies such as HMOs, houses of multiple occupation, where we rent out individual rooms in a property and get a lot more rent coming in. We can do short-term lets such as serviced accommodation, where again, we're renting very short-term, getting a higher rent because of that. And using those two high cash flowing strategies, it doesn't really matter if we have these relatively high interest rates. But for the normal average investor who's just doing buy-to-lets, single-let properties, which by the way, 82% of investors do, it's been a very difficult time. And these high interest rates haven't helped the property market. In fact, what's happened is with this buyer's market I mentioned earlier, there are more sellers than there are buyers. And one of the reasons is buyers are finding it very difficult to get their mortgages to stack. So we have really expected and been waiting for interest rates to come down. And obviously the Bank of England monetary policy meet every so often, they make the decision. And today's announcement might be a surprise to some people, maybe some people expected it. Now, what's going to happen later on? No matter what's happened today, people believe that interest rates are going to come down further in the future because the Bank of England has got this policy where they wanted the inflation rate to be 2%. That has been met. The former Conservative government were very happy they managed to bring inflation down. But I wonder what's going to happen to inflation now. We've heard the news very recently, just this week, that junior doctors are going to be awarded a pay package equivalent to a 22% increase in salary. Now, some people might say it's long overdue. It depends on your political view. But this is interesting because if the Labour government have agreed such a high, relatively high percentage increase for junior doctors, I wonder if there's going to be pressure from lots of other unions for other parts of the economy and other sectors to have a similar inflation-busting pay rise. Now, if that happens, that is going to cause massive, massive inflation. And so will the Bank of England actually put interest rates up further to control inflation that's going to come as a result of these very high pay rises? So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Labour government and the policies they bring in, particularly over the next 6 months. What this also means is many investors are sitting back and just waiting to see what happens. And in fact, I'm going to be doing a video very, very soon about why right now is actually probably the best time for you to be investing in property. And I get it, with relatively high interest rates still, even though interest rates change, with high interest rates, it's difficult to get investments to stack up. But you've got to remember, right now we have this buyer's market and there are lots of buyers who really, really need to get rid of their properties. And if you're watching this video as soon as it's come out, by the way, I highly recommend you subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so whenever topical, relevant videos like this come out, you're one of the first people to see them. If you're watching this now in the summer, 1st of August of 2024, I believe now is such a good time because not only is a buyer's market, not only are many investors sitting back to see what happens as a result of the Labour government having this landslide election, which by the way means they can bring anything they want in, but also a lot of investors in the summer typically take some time off with family. And that's a good thing to do. One of the reasons for investing is to have more time with family. But there are still lots of sellers who need to sell their properties. And really, they need a solution. So I think actually stepping up your activity is a really good thing to do. And my next video is going to be all about that and how you can make advantage of the current investing opportunity. Probably one of the best opportunities this decade to be buying property. So look out for my next video. The other thing you might want to do is think about coming to one of our property investor network meetings. Now we have them all over the UK and also in the Netherlands and also in Dubai every month apart from August and December because many people are off on holiday or busy during those times. So we have a virtual meeting in August and December, which is a big national meeting. People from all over the country and all around the world joining. And then every other month, the 10 months a year, we have our local property investor network meetings. And it's really valuable to go to those because you can learn what other people like you are doing in your investing area. You don't have to try and work out yourself what are the best strategies because there are other people already doing those strategies and you can learn from them. We have great speakers who are some of the most successful investors from around the UK and also local investors who are doing amazing things so you can be inspired and learn from other people. And we have regular updates about the mortgage market, about the lettings market and about government updates. And that's going to be really important for the next 6 months going forward as the Labour government bring new policies and changes that are going to affect you as a property investor. So if you've already been to a Property Investor Network meeting, you know how powerful they are, and I'm sure you're already booked for your next meeting. If you haven't been, what a great opportunity to come and find out what you've been missing out on. And in fact, we're going to put a link in the description below this video, and also you can use a voucher code, which is YouTube. So when you come to your next Property Investor Network meeting, if it's your very first one, you can come as our guest. You can come and check it out for yourself, see what you've been missing out on, use the voucher code YouTube on the payment page to bypass the normal payment and come as a guest for the very first time. And I'm sure once you've been, you're going to love it. You're going to love the positivity, the connecting with like-minded people. Because when you're investing in property, if you're completely new or even if you're an experienced investor, the more successful you become, the less people around you can talk to. Because your family, friends, work colleagues who are not investors, they don't understand it. They don't understand what you're trying to achieve. So getting a group of like-minded people around you is really, really important. So I really encourage you to come and check out the Property Investor Network. You can go to pinmeeting.co.uk, click on the link below and come and find your local meeting, register and make the most out of this opportunity to connect with other like-minded people who are trying to achieve the same thing as you. So until the next video, which is going to be all about the incredible opportunity in the current market, I encourage you to invest with knowledge, invest with skill. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon and like the video and come and comment. What do you think is going to happen next to interest rates? I look forward to reading your comments. I'll see you very soon.